program is brought to you by Newsworks in cooperation with the City of Eau Claire. This program is simulcast on WRFP-LP 101.9.
And the first item on our agenda, is the election of officers.
Yes. So you can go ahead and chair that since you're the vice chair and ask for nominations.
Okay, so do we start, we're just doing the vice chair and the chair, right?
And secretary.
And secretary. Do we start at the bottom?
Start with that.
Okay, so we start at the top of the list. So I'd be looking for nominations for president.
I nominate Jenny Ebert.
I'll second the nomination.
Do we have any other nominations for president?
No.
Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Okay, I guess call the vote. All those in favor of Jenny Ebert being the chair of the Planning Commission?
Aye.
Motion passes. Then we would be looking for a new vice chair. And I'd be looking for nominations.
I nominate Jamie Radabaugh.
I'll second that.
I'll move nominations be closed.
And I'll second that.
Don't I have to say, are there any other nominations? At least once.
Go ahead.
Any other nominations for vice chair? Okay, it seems that the nominations are closed. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Then we would be looking for a secretary position, secretary of the board. And I'd be looking for nominations.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Brentholt.
I'll second that.
Mr. Brenholtz, you accept the nomination?
Well, I guess so.
Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, we'll close all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, so our new slate of officers, Jenny Ebert, President, Vice Chair Jamie Radabaugh, and Secretary is Craig Brenholdt. Okay, item number 1 off the agenda. First item on our agenda for a public hearing is a recommendation on an annexation for 2622 Sessions Street.
Okay, the property owner would like to annex this property. It's located at Sessions Street, and London Road is to the east. The parcel is approximately 1.89 acres in the town of Washington. It does have existing single-family home on it. The parcel is within the sewer service area for the city of Eau Claire. Along Sessions Street is sewer and water available already. This does meet consistent with the comp plan, and we recommend approval of this annexation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. Does the property currently have city water and sewer to it?
I don't believe so. I think it's on well and septic.
Okay, so it's well and septic, but
Correct.
they could join it.
After
if they
the
needed to.
annexation, that is
Okay,
correct.
thank you. Any other questions? I'd be looking for a motion then.
I'll move approval.
Do we have a second? Craig, do you second? Jamie seconded. Okay, all right. Any discussion? Seeing none, we will call the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. The property is passed for annexation. Third item on the agenda for recommendation, a final plat for Western Avenue.
Okay, this is a final plat on Western Avenue, on the east side of Western Ave, which is here, north of Weller Street, and then Hastings Way is on the east side. The applicant would like to have this final plat approved, and then this would be for four lots for fourplexes that were approved last year. There is also 2 outlots along Hastings Way that are at this time are just outlots. The final plat is consistent with the preliminary plat that the Plan Commission approved in 2016. They did address the two concerns that staff had on this final plat. The parcel is approximately 4.11 acres, and staff would recommend approval of this request, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Thank you. What were the two issues that they addressed?
Yes, they identified the 20% or slope area, which is non-buildable, and they also indicated easements requests from Xcel Energy, AT&T, and Charter TV.
Any other questions? Commissioner Peterson.
I noticed there's a slight difference between the large and the small with respect to, it looks like an access corridor or what could be dedicated for access coming into Lot 3.
That's correct. They made a minor change.
Okay, which one is the,
The smaller one is the final plat. That's the one we're going to go off of.
okay,
The larger one is the preliminary plat that was approved last year.
all right. If I'd read preliminary plat, yeah, thank you.
Commissioner
my question.
Klinkhammer.
That was
Oh,
my
the same
question.
question? Okay. I have a question. Are, looking at the lots, are there going to be driveways that would be shared if the outlots were developed?
That I'm not sure.
Okay.
The
I'm
applicant
just saying,
is-
it seems to me that we kind of had a proposed site plan when we saw it last fall, and there was driveways that ran along the eastern border and the southern and the northern border that allowed for that, but I wanted to see, because otherwise,
I'm not sure. The applicant is here that may
Okay.
be able to speak to that.
okay, we can answer that question at that time. Thank you. Any other questions for Ryan?
Ryan?
It's been a long day. All right. Would the applicant like to come forward?
Hi, I'm Pete with Real Land Surveying. The reasons for the outlots was for the zoning purposes, because he needed a buffer from the R2 or whatever the zoning is to R1. So we kept those outlots for future planning for R1 use, but
Okay.
not for multifamily.
Okay.
But those outlots will have to be retained by the adjoining landowners, so.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the applicant? I don't see any. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the audience who would like to speak? Is there anyone else from the audience that would like to speak? Third time. All right, if there are no further comments, we'll close the public hearing. And I'd be looking for a motion.
I move approval.
Yeah.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I don't see any. Okay, we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, so that's done. Number 4, for recommendation, Fairfax Street excess land.
Okay, I'm here presenting on excess land on Fairfax Street. It's a very steep parcel, about 46,000 square feet. We acquired the property along with the Washington Heights Sanitary District in 1983. The value of the property was listed at about $1,000 from assessing due to the steep grade of the parcel. We are going to send it out for RFP just to see if there's any other interest. Otherwise, the best use we were foreseeing was a site for a tower.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Thank you. If that's the best use, then why not have the city keep it and lease it for a cell tower? Or don't we do that? If they want a cell tower, we sell it?
We do leases for cell towers. At this point, we don't have anyone that's interested in that area. And there is potential to build. It's just not, it'll be hard to get to, and it's not very likely that someone will do it, but we still think there is the potential for somebody to possibly build out there. So we're kind of trying to see what people think.
Any other questions for the city? I don't see any.
Okay.
Thank you. And I don't see anyone else left in the audience, and we are the applicant, so I guess makes it kind of short. So I'd be looking for a motion for recommendation to declare that piece on Fairfax Street as excess land. Craig, you'll make the motion.
So moved.
We have a
I'll
motion,
second.
and we'll have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 5, for recommendation, excess land, 318 Elm Street.
All right, so we're looking at this larger parcel here. This was acquired through,
Taxes.
yeah, back taxes for $1. The building structure that was on there was not adequate, so we acquired the property to demolish the building, and now we're looking at putting it out for RFP to have somebody build on it. Looking at specifically a multi-family unit, potentially.
Any questions? I have one. What are the lot dimensions?
It's 16,800 square feet.
Okay, so you could actually, did we approve that 8,500 square feet for building a duplex? I can't remember if that was part of the multifamily changes that we did, but if, no, that was just passed last week, wasn't it? Anyways, it's big enough for a duplex or something larger.
Right.
Down there. Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Yep.
That was my only question.
Yeah, there is a RM zoning to the west and to the south, so there's probably the potential for even a fourplex there.
Okay, good to know. That would be a nice redevelopment of that area. Okay, so there's, once again, we're the applicant, so there's no one else who wants to speak. So I'd be looking for a motion.
I have one
Peter?
more question.
Yes.
On the foundation, that circular foundation, if it goes to where something is constructed on it, how much of a detriment will that be to remove that without damaging the adjoining properties? It was listed as a condition under environmental and other liabilities, a circular concrete foundation.
That's a good question. I don't know.
That might affect the price. That might be something we address too when someone does buy the property and then come in with a site plan.
Right, right. I don't know.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, I'd be looking for a motion.
I so move that we declare this excess property.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And number 6, for recommendation, excess land, East Madison Street.
All right. The parcel we're looking at declaring excess on this one is a small section of land that was left over from the Madison Germania realignment. The initial parcel we acquired was 6,079 square feet. This one is just left at 1,515. It's not buildable. We'd be looking at selling it to an adjacent property owner.
Okay. Any questions? I don't see any.
Okay.
I'd be looking for a motion
Move approval?
and a second.
Second?
And a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. And next and last, discussion and direction. 2016 Development Report and Map.
We thought since the commission had a fairly short agenda tonight, that we would just take a couple minutes and go over the 2016 development map and report, kind of give a quick summary of what happened last year, and then kind of give you an update of what's happened for the first couple of months in 2017. The development map and report is a report that we've been putting together actually dating back to 1980, so we have like about almost 37 to 40 years worth of development information available for the development community, historians, whoever is interested, and most of that is in digital format, so it seems to be fairly useful. We get a lot of requests for this kind of information. We do have it posted on our website, so it's available for people too. I think going back maybe the last 10 years or so are on our website. I did include a memo in your packet that kind of gave a brief overview of the report and then a link to the report on our website. If anybody wants a paper copy of that, please feel free to let me know and we'll get you a paper copy. In terms of highlights for 2016, kind of I'll zoom into a couple areas here. This first set of columns here relates to annexations. In terms of the number of annexations and then our square miles. So you can see back in 2016 we had very little annexation activity with only 2 annexations, and they didn't even total 2 acres in size. Our overall square miles is 34.34 square miles, and those annexations didn't even change that over the last year. So we didn't really see a lot of annexation activity. This row of columns here relates to rezoning activity that the commission was involved with. We had 12 rezonings back in 2016 that were just a little less than 190 acres. And if you look back for the previous number of years, you can see that 12 is pretty comparable to what we've had over the last 5 or 6 years or so. And then this last row of columns relates to subdivisions. The commission or the city approved 3 subdivisions last year that totaled 37 additional lots. You can see that that's maybe a little bit less than we've had in the last few years, and then in terms of number of lots, it's fewer lots that were created also. And I'll provide a little bit more detail on that as we go through there. In terms of residential building activity, the top column is single family, condo, duplex, and then multifamily. And then just zooming into that. So for in 2016, we had 76 single family, 20 condo units, 26 duplex, and then 156 multiple family units. And that was primarily with 2 projects that we got that number. One was the 222 Water Street, the John Mogensen property, and then the apartment building built down off of or close to Bullis Farm Road down by the Holiday Inn. So we had a total of 278 units last year, and if you look in terms of comparison the last few years, actually it was quite a good year last year in 2016 in terms of having that 278 units. Then just showing that in more of a graphical format, this is the single family construction for last year and years past, showing the 76 units for last year in comparison. You can see the best year previous would have been 2006, where we had a fairly large number in this area. But in recent years, it's very comparable to what we've had. In terms of duplexes, the 26 duplexes that we had last year was larger than the last 4 years. Actually pretty comparable to all of these years with the exception of 2012. And then for multiple family, and that was pretty comparable too with the 156 units last year, actually dating all the way back to 2002 when we had a very large number, the 411. So again, it was very comparable to what we've had, or even better than we had in previous years. In terms of actual building valuation last year, the building valuation was about the fourth highest that we experienced, with about a little over 159 million last year. The other 3 years that were higher would have been in 2011, 2009, and then 2000. In comparison to what we have here with this 159 million, right now our current valuation for permits, basically just for the first 4 months, is almost 110 million. So we're well off to probably exceeding this figure here. In fact, we have a couple projects that I think the permits have been submitted for, but they haven't been approved, and those probably were another 6 million or so that we have. That'll probably occur within the next couple weeks or so. So it's been a good start so far, and it was a good year last year. In terms of what some of the bigger projects last year were, this table here shows projects that were over 100,000 in valuation, and then we have them broken down by category. In this case, this is commercial office. We had 47 projects that had a value over 100,000. In comparison, in 2015, we had 41, so a little bit larger. In terms of what those are, the first one would be the mixed-use building on at 222 Water Street for $10 million. Target had a major remodel with over $4 million. Xcel Energy out on Hamilton had a building remodel for about $2.5 million. This permit here is actually the remodel of the old Oak Leaf Hospital down by the mall for about $2.5 million. Action City was $2.1 million. Mayo Clinic had a building. Actually, this was over on Spring Street. They had worked for some training rooms, and they had about $1.5 million over at that location. This is for the Micon Theater Edition down by Mall Drive for $1.3. Middleford had a project remodel for a little over $1 million. And then Keystone had a new office building for $1 million down at 4106 Oakwood Hills Parkway. So those were kind of a larger in that particular category. And then for industrial warehouse, in terms of how we categorize it, last year we had 12 projects that were over 100,000 in comparison to 15 back in 2015. The largest couple was Culligan office building out on Truax for $1.6 million. And then Xcel Energy had another project over on Western Avenue for just a little under $700,000. Cascades Tissue had a project for about $700,000. So those were the three major projects in that category. And then the last category is the public, semi-public category. We had 17 projects in that grouping that were over 100,000 in comparison to 10 last year. The major ones there was the Confluence Art Project at $41 million. Luther Hospital had their 5th floor build out at $11 million. The City of Eau Claire, a little over $2 million with the 4th floor of the ramp. Chippewa Valley Technical College, classroom addition at $1.3 million. Luther Hospital, another remodeling for a little over $1 million. And then the Boys and Girls Club over in Oxford, their remodeling of their new facility was about $700,000. And then the Congregational Church had an interior remodel of just a little bit less than $500,000. So that's an example of some of the larger projects last year. We also keep track of the city's population and the number of housing units. We had a net gain last year of 261 housing units. That takes account the housing units that were built and then anything that was raised or demolished during that year. So that was our net gain. That brought us up to 29,232. That is in comparison, if you go back to 2010 census, we were at 27,919. So over that period of the 6 years, 7 years or so, we've had a gain of 1,313 units during that time frame. In terms of our population, we get our population estimates from the state of Wisconsin. The most current estimate that we have is for January 1st of 2016, so that's about a year old. And this is what our estimate is from them, 67,381. We'll be getting estimates from them probably within about a month or so, and I'd anticipate probably another 300 to 400 people will be what that estimate will be for January 1st of 2017. And then just a little update in terms of kind of where we're at now, and I kind of mentioned that a little bit. This is the monthly report that we put out. This is for the end of March, so the end of April will be coming out in a couple days or so I don't have that available. But this shows, the first column here relates to single-family housing. So this is what we have year-to-date 14, and comparing that back to last year, we had 13. This is condo units, so we had 2, we didn't have any at this point. This column here is for duplexes. We have 6 units. Back at that time we had 20. And then this is for multifamily. We don't have any permit-wise at this point, but we had 8 at that point last year. And then in terms of building valuation, this was again at the end of March, our building valuation is a little over almost $206 million. And year-to-date last year, we were under 31 million. So you can see a big difference in terms of the comparison from this year to last year. As I mentioned too, we have about $5 million in valuation that we anticipate within the next couple of weeks that we would be adding to this figure right here. In terms of what some of the major projects have been so far this year, this shows the major projects. So we'd have the Marshfield Clinic Hospital at $68 million, the Marshfield Clinic Cancer Center at $15.5 million. Mayo Hospital had a 4th floor remodel with almost $4.5 million. E.O. Johnson had an addition at $2.5 million. Xcel Energy had an addition to their building out on Black Avenue for $2 million. The Artesian Metalworks, their addition to their building is a little over $1 million. The address is Claremont Avenue, Mondovi Road, but if you go by Claremont Avenue, you can see the major addition going on over there.
Sculptures up there now.
Correct, yep. Walmart is working on a building remodel for a little over $1 million. The Fuller Funeral Home doing a remodel for a little over $600,000. And then the Spiros office building down off of London Road, new building there. I think that's a mixed-use building for a little over $500,000. And then the local lounge supper club pulled a building permit for $500,000 for their multi-purpose assembly building. That was approved by the Plan Commission, I think late last year as part of a site plan.
The back foundation and the outline of that building is huge.
And then we also graphically display the location of where the permits are located with a map. And shows both the single-family, condominiums, duplex, multiple family, and then we break down the categories for commercial, industrial, and public. In terms of the residential construction that occurred last year, they were kind of in clusters. The one was down in this area down here off of Bullis Farm Road with that new small subdivision there. This area here off of Dryer Road where we had the new subdivision over off of to the east of Robbins School. We had some units over in the Sherman Estates area located right here. We're starting to see some permits with this subdivision, this extension here of the Highview. And then up on the far north side, up on County Line Road, we've seen both some condos, single family, and then some twin home development located right in this area here. So that's kind of typical of what we've seen over the last couple of years in terms of location of the development. So that, if you have any questions.
Any questions for Pat? David Klinkhammer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What's happening with that project on Keystone Crossing? I drive by it regularly, and they
The one
got
up-
stuff stacked in there.
The
but-
one up by Buffalo Wild Wings?
Yep.
Actually, we have a plat that, or excuse me, a CSM that just got signed tonight for that location. Here's Buffalo Wild Wings right here.
Okay.
And then it's being divided into these lots here. And this is an apartment building that will be built on this lot here. How many units did you say? 50 plus units will be built in this. So you'll see, that's one of the permits that I was referring to that we'll be issuing within the next week or two. They were waiting on this CSM in order to get that permit. So you'll finally see some activity up there.
Wonderful. Okay. The link that you included with the, or that was, not you, that was included with our packet wouldn't operate for me.
Okay.
So if you could resend that to me again,
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
We'll check that and see if there's something wrong with that.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't have time.
I'm sorry?
I said, I didn't have time to try and open it, so.
Well, I
Thank
wore
you
my
for the
thumb
warning.
out trying to get it to activate, and it wouldn't work.
I don't think it was a hyperlink. I think it was a scanned pack.
Oh, it wasn't?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the link
If
should
it's-
take
If
it.
it wasn't a hyperlink, I'm not going to bother. I can't type that much. So, and there's I just heard that Whiffley is going to be building out by Bullis Farm as well. Is that
Yes.
something that's coming?
Yeah, that, actually, the Plan Commission just approved the site plan
Last
for that, I
meeting.
think at the last meeting.
Oh, and I missed it.
Yeah. And that'll be,
Right down at the end of the
way down at the
subdivision.
end. It'll be right down in this
Yeah.
area, right down at
Commissioner Mitchell.
I have two things. Also about the link, I went to the city website to get the development map and put it into this, but the map itself doesn't work.
Oh,
So you can't reduce it. When you try to reduce it, it disappears. And
Okay.
that's off the city website, so
All right.
that's a separate problem.
So you can see it initially, but if you go to
But
zoom in?
it's big, it's just a chunk of, a little,
Mhm.
it's real big, and then when you go to reduce it, it just disappears.
Okay. All right, we'll work on that.
And then I have another question.
Go ahead.
So that when, and I should know the answer to this, she said, the 29,232 housing units are, a unit is the whole building, it doesn't count individual apartments.
When we count housing units, like the 276, the total number for the city, that would include the single family, and then if it was a duplex unit, we would count that as two. And then if it was, for example, the Mogensen's building down here, I'll zoom in a little closer. That was for 87 units, so that would be 87 units that would be part of that total. And then the other apartment that was built right down here, which doesn't show up, I think that was 49 units. Those would be added to that total. So those would all be comprised of that 276.
Well, so it includes every
Every dwelling unit.
unit oh, okay.
Yep.
And it's only 29,000?
Pardon me?
It's only 29,000,
In terms of the,
the whole city?
oh, okay, yeah, yeah, that would be the total for the city, correct? It's actually quite a few.
Any other questions for Pat? Pat, do we have any comparison to Eau Claire County versus the city of Eau Claire in terms of number of like single-family permits?
Not readily available. We'd have to do some research. We don't keep track of specifically of the permits that are issued by the county or other cities. We'd have to do some checking on that.
Is it something we should be paying attention to in terms of providing incentives for developers to develop subdivisions? I mean, it's better for our tax base if more people build within the city limits of Eau Claire as opposed to in a township, correct?
Well, we do keep track of the plating and subdivision activity that's outside the city as part of our 3-mile
Right.
extraterritorial area, so we do keep track of that. You know, so I think maybe more in terms of the lots that are out there are probably more important to us in terms of where we can grow and subdivide versus whether someone's building a house on a existing lot or not.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Any code compliance items? Seeing none, any future agenda items?
I'm supposed to ask on behalf of staff.
Yes.
And the Plan Commission. Do we want to give certification of appreciation to Terry Weld?
Definitely. Yeah.
That was easy.
We'll have a plaque made up and then we'll ask them to come back in a future meeting.
Okay. Maybe the next meeting or sometime after that. I don't know how long it takes to make up a plaque.
All right, we'll have to see. Well, as soon as we can, we'll get.
Okay, sounds good. And then everybody received the minutes of the previous meeting. Are there any additions or corrections? Seeing none, the meeting is adjourned.
This program was brought to you by a cooperation between Newsworks and the City of Eau Claire. A transcript of this meeting is available for the hearing impaired. It will be available within 7 days of this telecast. Call 715-839-4912 or TDD 715-839-1689 or write Eau Claire City Clerk, P.O. Box 5148, Eau Claire, Wisconsin 54702-5148. Newsworks is made possible by continuing community support. If you would like to volunteer or make a donation, please contact us via phone at 715-839-5067 or online at valleymediaworks.org.